So flexibility is our next one that we seem uh a little bit of a struggle with this one. Flexibility, I think a lot of people have trouble sometimes with flexibility because we get kind of stuck in our ways. So our first question, how can being flexible help a young adult with taking that next step in their life?
Yeah, so flexibility is such a key skill to learn. It helps us enhance our adaptability, which is just adjusting to changes in our life. No matter how much you plan or schedule or have things in a row, life is going to change. Not everything is going to go as planned. That could be things, just embrace the change. Whether it is getting a new position at work, changing your living situation, or even learning a new skill. It's also going to help with building resiliency in your life, which is being able to move and grow through those difficult times, which is definitely something that all of us can benefit from. And then it just allows you to embrace new opportunities. Things, like I said, things are constantly changing in life. New opportunities are presented to us. So just stepping outside your comfort zone and embracing those new opportunities.
I just want to say, understand too with being flexible is understand that it's okay to fail and kind of putting yourself out there and things like that. Just because something doesn't go according to plan doesn't mean that you are a failure. Doesn't mean that, it just means that, oh, it's not the result that I want. And it's kind of can help us build upon where do we want to go from there, right? So it's okay to, again, I know JR's expression is that 20 seconds or that rule of 20 seconds of bravery. Again, it goes with that same thing with being flexible is putting yourself out there and again embracing that change like Sarah said.
What are some strategies you recommend to help a young adult be more flexible?
So I will kind of start this off where I have some strategies that kind of help us before we even get to the point of being more flexible, is kind of getting us to that mind frame and things like that to help us with that flexibility. So I know we have these calming strategies are some things that we go over in next ed that before we can be flexible and things like that, we do have to manage our emotions or we have to get down to that baseline to even see what are the outcomes, where are the points that we can get to. So one strategy that I have is just kind of find something that works for us. It could be deep breathing, right? Something our day just got disrupted, so taking that deep breath and deep breathing exercises. I know there's another calming exercise that could be having those five senses where it's just grounding ourselves and things like that. It's just these ways that can help us engage with like, okay, I'm back, right? Now, how am I going to challenge the rest of these? How am I going to go with the flow? I also like, don't let 5 bad seconds ruin our entire day. Because sometimes it's really easy that something wrong happens real quick, right? Something disruptive in our schedule. It's a lot of times it's not a long process. It's very quick and it's very sudden. And so it's how can I make sure that that 5 or 10 seconds doesn't ruin everything else that I have going for me that day? To where it's like, oh, I'm not going to do anything at all now.
I will say with that 5 seconds that's another thing that's like, oh, it's easier said than done.
Oh,
We're in the moment. It could be so challenging. One of the things that David and Thea do in Next Ed is they do mindful moments quite a bit. And it practices with connecting with what's around you. And sometimes, and when I say it to young adults, they look at me sideways. But when we start practicing those different breathing techniques. So when you're in that moment, you could do some of those. My favorite one is what is it? The five senses ones where you do like five things you can hear, four things you can see, three
Mhm.
things you can feel, two things you can smell, one thing you can taste, just to kind of refocus in that you have things that you could control to notice. So before you process what the next step is. Um, the other thing is we also talk about in launch is appropriate reactions to the emotion that we're feeling. What's appropriate and what's not appropriate, and how does that feel and look when we do that.
Just wanted to say that when it comes to strategies to help you be more flexible, building a supportive network, a supportive support system is so important. Surrounding yourself with people that are going to encourage your growth and help you focus on your goals. These are people that you can, seek guidance and feedback from, and then just be open to that feedback and constructive criticism from your support system. And just know that they are giving you this feedback to help you grow your skill set.
What advice would you give a young adult when they need to adjust to a new environment, schedule, or responsibility?
If you're going to, like, you're starting a new job, like the next day, right? Like planning, like practicing going, taking the route can be helpful because then on the day of, you're not feeling really anxious because you already know where it is. That can be helpful. If you're going to like a new class or um, just anything that's new, you can arrive a little bit early and then take those moments to like breathe and do your calming strategies and also make sure that like you can find the seat that you want is a great way to help regulate you when you're like a little anxious. Um, Mainly is just practicing the like different responsibilities that you have. Like, so if um, your new responsibility is, you know, your chore is to clean the bathroom. So like practicing actually doing that.
Well, so practice is what my main thing was going to be, is kind of putting yourself out there. And if it is a new responsibility, you did get a pet and things like that, right? I'll just use that as an example. It's okay to know that not everything's it's going to be a learning process. I think understanding that things aren't always going to be perfect right at the beginning. And again, kind of like I said earlier, it's okay to fail. It's okay to give something a try and be like, oh, this way did not work. And then kind of come back with a how can I do it? So I put this in, I tried it. It definitely did not work for me. What is another strategy that I can use, right? Maybe you're trying to add going to the gym as part of your schedule, part of your night schedule or things like that. And you're like, wow, struggle going there. And so maybe we need to find a friend to go with. Maybe we need to find an accountability buddy. Anything that can kind of give us those ideas and, be there for that support.
The next one that we were going to talk about is executive functioning and how that can help build those skills to take that next step. So the first one I want to go to is what are some key executive functioning skills?
I would say one skill would definitely be accountability and ownership. So, learning how to manage and maintain your daily schedule, um, completing chores or different tasks around the house without needing those reminders from parents or caregivers. And then also with accountability comes owning up to your mistakes. We all make mistakes. Own up to them. Another executive functioning skill is time management. So, organizing your calendar and your schedule day to day, week to week, setting alarms and reminders. I stress that one a lot in the launch program because we get very busy. So, whether you're cooking or you have a meeting to go to or whatever it is you need to do, set an alarm, so that it goes off 5 minutes before you need to leave or you need to hop onto a meeting or whatever the case may be. Like I said, life gets busy. We forget very easily. So setting those reminders, alarms, sticky notes, things like that. Boundaries, we talked about that a lot tonight. Boundaries is another one, setting boundaries for ourselves and making sure other people are respecting our boundaries as well as respecting other people's boundaries. And then another uh, key skill for executive functioning, I would say, is self-care. Often we neglect self-care in our lives. We also tend to think self-care costs money, and it does not. Self-care could be things from taking a bubble bath in peace and quiet to journaling our thoughts throughout the day. Talking to a friend about events going on in our lives, even exercising, taking a walk, things like that. That's all part of self-care. You got to kind of find what you enjoy doing and that what works for you when it comes to kind of alleviating mental and physical stress in life.
Sarah kind of approached into some of these next two questions with that first one with some of the skills, but like with time management. And she mentioned like having a schedule and alarms and reminders and checklist. Those are all tools to kind of practice and harness in on when it comes to executive functioning. I'm one that if I take a break, I have to set an alarm because my 5 minute break will turn into a 10 minute break. My 10 minute break will turn into a 30 minute break, right? And so making these the norm, right? Um, when it comes to this, we're going to come down to how family members can support, and I'm going to kind of share what I want to do, but I'm going to let the team add. Is there anything else you would like to add when it comes to what are some strategies or tools you
So
recommend help with or help
I
personalize
was
task?
I'm just gonna add, I know we talked about the calendar and things like that and the importance of it. And I know as like I put myself in back when I was in high school and my dad for Christmas one year got me like a planner. And I'm talking like leatherback with like all the dates and things like this, because that's what he used. And I was like, there is no way that I'm ever gonna use this thing. And I did not. It was not helpful for me whatsoever. But it was around that time that Google Calendars and Google was really kind of becoming a thing, right? And I found out that my phone and everything like that had where I could add alarms, I could add different things. So for me, it was, the writing it down wasn't helpful, but finding those tools and finding those things that did work for me. So it was that Google Calendar and it was helping me like organize it. And I never really even would have thought about that if my dad didn't give me that big, bulky planner thing.
I think David, you
Oh,
hit that right. Perfect. I mean, you find what works
yeah,
for you. Just because it worked
Absolutely.
for your dad or your mom or your friend doesn't mean it's gonna work for you or for your young adult. Like you have to find what they connect with, and explore. Explore
hmm
all the options. If one thing isn't working, try something new. Because I would say I could ask our whole panel is how we schedule our day and how we keep track of our schedule, and every one of us is going to give you a different answer.
If you're having a hard time remembering when was the last time you cleaned out your fridge or when was the last time you like cleaned your bathroom or your bedroom, you've probably seen these in like, store bathrooms where they have like a list of like, oh, this was the last date that I cleaned something. Creating your own little thing can be really helpful because then you're like, you see it and you're like, oh, it's been a while since I've cleaned. I should probably do that. So that could be like a good visual way to just be like, um, to remember that, oh, I need to clean.
Yep.
Those type of reminders are very helpful.
And for the young adults, do it for you,
hmm
right? Create it, word it how you want it to be worded. Have it look how you want it to look. Put effort into how you want it to appear, even when it comes to like using a Google Calendar or an Outlook calendar. I mean, I have people that, they like the dark feature of it, so it's all black and in neon colors, right? I can't do that because I get lost. I'm looking at like some kind of foreign language that I don't know, and it's just the different colors, and it doesn't work for me. But some people don't like the brightness, so really see what works best for you, and just keep trying it until you find something that you're comfortable with. How can a young adult practice self-awareness?
The one thing that I would say is we go over this so much in Next Ed that it is actually self-determination is a whole pillar. So we focus, 10 weeks on just kind of this topic, but I did want to talk about ways of what self-awareness is really knowing ourself, right? It is knowing who we are, it is knowing our values, our identity, it is understanding what's important to us. How we make decisions and things like that. So, how a young adult can kind of go around practicing self-awareness is starts with it. To me, it starts with our emotions. It starts with being able to name how am I feeling in the moment, and being able to internalize that. So again, we have those emotional wheels and things like that where, if you're feeling upset, maybe you can pinpoint what exactly is. It just mad? Because mad is so broad. Is it more that you're annoyed with something? Is it more that something is bothering you? So really trying to practice first naming those emotions can help us grow and kind of put us in a perspective. And then I would say another way that I practice self-awareness, maybe it works for you, but write down the things that are important to you. Write down the things that you like. Write down the things you don't like. It can even be food. Maybe you're just like, I can't stand asparagus. Find those things. Find what is important to you. Find what is you. Find that piece of how would you want to introduce, if you could just introduce yourself and be like, I am John and I really like to swim and things like that. Like, how would you want someone to look at you? That's one way that I would say you can practice self-awareness.
I think to follow up with David on that one, self-awareness is, like I said, like David said, they focus 10 weeks on it, and it's a huge, and he's trying to like really narrow like a large topic, but you know, knowing those emotions, but then like going on that, like talk about like how it feels. Like, how does it feel in your eyes? Do your eyes feel heavy? Do they feel watery? Because those are going to be things that you can physically feel that can connect with certain emotions to help guide that. And if you're not a writer, take pictures,
Mm,
video it, record your voice, color something, even if it's just you're picking a color that relates to how you're feeling that day or what's going on. But find some way to express it in your own creative way, um, and make it unique.
yeah, again, there is no right answer to this one, right? Again, because it is self-awareness. It is going to be how can you put it into practice? How can you engage with it? And no one's is going to be the same.
So, what are some ways that young adults can take more initiative in their lives? Um, and then I'm gonna put these ones together because I think this could be a combination question. We kind of separated it. But how can family members support young adults with taking more initiative? Um, so I'm gonna start with this one and be one, uh, for the young adults, find those opportunities to be there while the person that usually does that task, you're there. You don't have to jump in right away, but see it, witness it, be a part of it. If it is cooking, cleaning, if it is setting up doctor's appointments, just be there. And for parents, encourage them to be there with you. Let them see it, but then also be patient with them when they are exploring it. My favorite one is like, yes, I do this personally, and had to go over, but loading the dishwasher, right? Let them load the dishwasher. Even if it is not the way that you would load the dishwasher, let them try it. But let them explore and find their own ways of doing it. Um, and then go from there. If they didn't do it completely 100% correct, have that conversation with them. But first, just let them try it, explore it. Um, look at those times where you could take that safe risk for them to explore. And if I don't like the failure, but if it doesn't go as planned, then we can always learn from that opportunity. But be patient and be open with having that. And as a young adult, don't be afraid to have it not go as planned. Because there's a lot of things in my life that I learned because it didn't go as planned. If everything went perfect, that's when you learn the most. So be patient and just be okay with things not going as planned.
I'll start out with the young adults. Taking more initiative. Don't wait for your parents to give you responsibilities or show you things. If you're unsure of how to do the laundry, observe your parent or caregiver doing loads of laundry, using that washing machine, using that dryer, folding and putting clothes away. If you're unfamiliar with cooking, get in the kitchen, do those observations, ask your parents those questions. Know that your parents are busy themselves, so they don't always have the time to break things down. So, ask those clarifying questions. How do you use the stove, the oven, the microwave, the air fryer, things like that? Also, pay attention when you're out of the grocery store, the gas station, wherever it may be. Pay attention to the cost and how much your parents are paying every week for groceries, for gas to fill up the car, even the bill at like the restaurant for outings and things like that. Parents, this one can be very tricky and very hard. I've worked with individuals at the St. Louis Arc for almost 4 years now. I was also a special education teacher for 10 years. So I've had many talks with parents on, letting their young adults take that initiative. Let them make their mistakes. That's how they're going to learn. Set those expectations with them and try to, avoid over parenting or, telling them exactly how to do things, like with JR said with the dishwasher. Let them kind of play around and figure out how to load the dishwasher, things like that. And definitely offer praise and recognition that you're seeing their growth. You're seeing them take initiative. You're seeing them learn those new skills.
Celebrate those little successes.
Definitely.
Goes a long way. So our last one was independent living, but we did talk about quite a bit of those in just that last little bit of executive functioning. So I am gonna kind of just put the questions up there. When it comes to independent living as a group, is there anything that you would like to share with the family members or young adults that might answer some of these questions, or anything you would want to share?
I would kind of touch on that last one. Recommendations for family members to encourage or support their young adults. Just remember to foster a supportive environment, letting them know that you're there to support them, but you're not there to hold their hands or do things for them. That's going to be the biggest thing, is letting them do things on their own, trying those new things, taking those responsibilities over, whether it be, taking over the laundry. They now do their own laundry, dishes, things like that. Also try to involve them in decision-making processes as much as possible, whether it be things like meal planning for the week and creating that grocery list so that they can not only be part of the decision-making, but they can also kind of understand what it goes into doing those tasks as well.
When it comes to, young adults being able to identify their strengths and interests when building their independent skills, the first thing is, if you are a young adult, think about if you already have chores, right? Think about if you already have responsibilities around your house. What are those responsibilities that your parents are giving you? If you get an allowance or not over it. Think about, where is maybe some of that money coming from? Do you have a job? Or what are your responsibilities if you do have a job? Also, think about, why do you want to be more independent, right? Is there things that maybe you want to do a little bit differently from your parents? And then with that, it's kind of knowing what is going into that. So those are just some ways that a young adult can kind of identify their strengths and interests.
I would also think about strategies that can help you do the like
Hmm.
adult tasks that you have to do, like whether it's washing the dishes or doing your laundry. Like, uh, maybe you like to call a friend while you're doing your chores, or um, listening to a podcast, or different types of strategies that can just help you practice those independent skills. And also, be curious. I would say, like, there's so many like resources available to like learn new skills, whether it's by watching YouTube videos. um I think one time my toilet seat broke, so I pulled up a YouTube video,
Yep.
and someone taught me how to change my toilet seat. Like, there's so many opportunities. So just staying curious is what I would say.
Staying curious, being patient as a parent, and have them be involved, do things with them, in front of them, encourage them to be around you while you're doing those things. Um, because more is getting picked up than what you think. When you're just having those conversations and being involved, having them part of involved in the day to day activities.
Even if it's like you want once a week or once a month, it's like, we're going to cook dinner together, and we're going to practice this. But also, like, what do you want to eat? Like, what do you want to make? And then y'all search that out and you practice all the steps of, making a recipe, just including them in that.
And for young adults, this is an opportunity. It's a safe environment. It's a grab the experiences that are in front of you. So, how to connect with us? There's some few ways. If you just have questions or you want to just do follow-ups, the best way to connect to our team is at next@slark.org. That is an email chain that kind of goes to all of us, so it goes to the whole team. We can all see it, so we can connect with you through there. But if you're interested in our programs and you want to start the process, there is this cool QR code with the dinosaur in the middle. You can scan that QR code and it will send you to a questionnaire. It takes about 5-10 minutes to fill out, depending on how quickly you try to get through it. And then it'll notify us and notify you if you are pre-qualified. There will be some other steps to finalize the qualifications, but then we will follow up with a phone screen and more connections with you.